Alright everyone, and welcome back for a second episode of the Not So Old Boys podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about dating and how it affects our mental health. This is a topic that doesn't get talked about enough, and it's important to remember that dating can be a very stressful and anxiety-inducing experience. In this week's episode, we discuss the different ways that dating can impact our mental health, both positively and negatively. How we can cope with the challenges of dating, such as rejection, ghosting, and feeling like you're not good enough. And finally, tips for dating in a healthy way to prioritise your mental health. If you haven't already, check out our first episode where we talk about male fertility. Enjoy.
Right, fellas, listen up.
I need to do it again now, boy.
Fellas!
Okay, and welcome to the second episode of the Not So Old Boys podcast. I bring to you Stephen Pearce.
Yep, I'm back, second appearance.
And I bring you debutant Rory Sweeney.
Yeah, so I'm Rory Sweeney, second best left back club level. Obviously. And Old Wilsonians thirds, half as good as the Sixers.
Hey. And again, welcome back, fan favourite, Rob Benson.
Yeah, second appearance, looking to get started this week. Enjoy it, boys.
Another debutant we have here is Jack Coughlin.
Jack Coughlin, captain, leader, legend of 5XI, CDM.
And then,
Should be a three player. Should be three.
And then to my left, we have Stevie Benwell as a debutant.
Yep, Stephen Benwell, superstar striker, ageing journeyman striker for the third 11. And yeah, pleased to be here, Chesney, so thanks for the invite.
Hey.
Aging journeyman. I love that. It's so apt as well. It's fucking bang.
This week, we bring the podcast straight from the Old Wilsonians Sports Ground. And this is where you can buy... What can you buy here, Rob?
You can get your £30 jug, 7 pints of the Old Wilsonian Pilsner. We've invested in 2 jugs this evening.
Ooh.
Where's the first one?
Football special.
It's at the bar.
Football
Oh,
special.
right, it's already
It's
there.
in the tap still. It's
a great
keeping
bit.
cold.
And it has been served in the famous watering can.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Uncleaned.
We are in the President's Lounge today, by the way.
We are in the President's Lounge, reserved usually for presidents.
Yeah.
And
Soon to
third
be.
11, ex-Fifth 11 players who won the league last season.
You had a night out
We did.
with a load of boys
Some boys.
and some girls. There was this rogue person who Rob took a shine into.
Can we say their gender audibly, please? So that
Male.
Can't-
Rogue,
their
Rogue
real
is
gender.
a attractive female
Very attractive female.
that Rob took a shine to.
I did.
Got on really well all night.
We did.
And then Rob went through Adam to get Rogue's number. How did that go, Rob? What did you get out of that anyway? How have you felt since?
I was in the car with Lloyd on the way home, saw Adam Benwell WhatsApp, thought, ooh, here we go.
This is it.
He's got a response
This
already.
is the good news we've been waiting for.
Asked Lloyd to flick through my WhatsApp message to Adam's message, to which I saw a beautiful worded message, she's not interested. Look, it's not about me today, boys.
You mean you didn't get dressed up to go hang out with 7 men doing a podcast?
I haven't, no, it wasn't.
That's
weird.
That wasn't where I
did.
thought.
I went a full suit.
That wasn't where I thought my dating scene was going to be this evening, which leads us nicely on.
I was just about to say,
Chesney, if you could just let everyone know what our taboo subject is for this afternoon.
Yeah, so that was going to lead me nicely on to the fact of how we can deal with our dating experiences and how that can affect our mental health. One of the topics was how we deal with rejection and low self-esteem after being rejected. So, I mean, I don't know how many times you get rejected, Rob. I mean, is this just a one...
Just Rob.
No, that was fair enough. That was a fair enough question.
Everyone gets rejected.
So obviously, because you're on the dating scene, I don't know if rejection is a frequent thing or not that frequent, or do you just...
I can let you know that actually in that moment in time, it's a genuine story. As we were driving home, Lloyd read the message out and he was like, "Oh, that's a shame." I was like, "That's all right, plenty of fish, plenty more fish in the sea." And he went, "Oh, that's really surprising." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, if I know that I got a message, he would be really upset by that rejection." And I was like, "Well, it's just life, isn't it? Like, you're going to get some yeses, you're going to get some no's. No point getting hung up about it. I'd only met her once."
So you're not really taking it personally?
No, not at all. If we had met lots and lots and lots of times, for example, and then that
You
same
build a
conversation happen, you
relationship
build a
with
relationship,
them,
then
yeah.
it might be more upsetting. But still, I'm always of the opinion that life kind of just goes on, to be fair. And I take that approach with lots of things. Things aren't always going to go your way. So try not to worry about them too much. I know it's not easy for everyone, but that's my approach, is if I can not get hung up about the bad things and always look at the good things and amplify the good things, then you will generally have a more positive...
Controllable, right?
Exactly.
You can't
exactly
control that.
I
You
can't
just-
control
Just
that.
control what you can control. Don't let that bog you down. It's got-
While you've been on this dating scene, have you ever been where a point where you've been rejected and then actually felt disappointed and upset about it?
Yeah,
Because
there
obviously you can't be-
has been some. Yeah, probably the most memorable one of somewhat recent time was when I was in Australia.
Was that when you were ripped?
Yes. Australia the first time, I should say, because I have returned recently, not as ripped. And went on a few dates actually, with a lovely lady whose name will not be mentioned in the podcast in case she's listening out. We went on a few dates.
How did you meet?
Through...
You didn't just see and go, oh, she looks
Hinge
different to me in
or
Australia. So.
Tinder, I think, one of those two. Because it was coming out of lockdown, so people weren't exactly out and about socialising in the normal way. And we went on a few dates, went walking and hiking through the waterfalls, went out on cocktails, and then we met up in Sydney and had dinner, and then she came around and I cooked the dinner, and we watched some telly.
Okay, so it got kind of...
Yeah, we had a few days.
Yeah,
A few days, got to be comfortable. And then on her way home one evening at like 2 in the morning, I just got a long text message explaining all the reasons why it wasn't going to work out, and I was like,
do you remember any of those?
What were the reasons?
no, I can't, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend I don't remember, but I can't remember what they all were effectively, but it was basically like, oh, this, I've had a nice time, but this wasn't all that, and this wasn't all that, and I don't see us really having the chemistry, and I'm not really that vibing, I'm not really that into it, and the whole message felt very opposite to what had been displayed across the dates, as opposed to it being like, oh, I've had a great time, but we're not.
So you'd
we're not
experienced a
compatible.
different thing to what
I would
she had
say,
experienced.
well, apparently so.
Which is understandable, you have different parts of it. And I guess in the fact that she actually messaged you straight away and didn't string it along is a good thing.
Yeah.
Not
I'm not going to sit here and say she's like a bad person, what she's done.
And
She's done totally the right
She
thing.
hasn't slagged you off in any way. She just said
no.
you didn't vibe enough, which is just fine.
That's fine. I think it was just because it came out in sort of what I had felt had just gone quite well, to then immediately get told afterwards that it hadn't was a bit like...
Bit of a knock for the confidence.
Yeah, it was. Because I think
Okay,
because I think when you've been on a lot of dates, you can kind of tell when things aren't going quite well. But when you think it's going well and you've seen each other a few times, for it to then not go, like for it to be like straight away, no, it's not happening. You're like, oh, okay, that feels like maybe I've gone wrong. Have I gone consistently wrong across 3 dates?
So you thought you were in the wrong after that?
Yeah, I thought I must have done something.
Analysing yourself.
100%, yeah. And that's probably the only time in recent history where I've been like, wow, I've done something wrong.
Is that hard in a different country away from
It
everyone
was,
you know?
because you're in a different country away from your friends. We were, like I say, we were just come out of lockdown, so the whole going out and having that social mobility again was still fairly new and fresh. I hadn't been on that many dates with girls over there. I was still questioning whether I was going to be there for longer than my visa, and whether the goal was to have a girlfriend in Australia or not, or to move back home and have just a short-term relationship.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think
is-
when you said the story about getting the text as well, I was thinking, okay, fair enough. It's nice the fact that you know. Whereas if you still thought there was something going on and you're wasting your own time, I was speaking about this to somebody with the other day, and like if you're wasting your own time just thinking about it all the time, thinking why isn't this person responding? I thought it went really, really well. That'd be a lot more heartbreaking, I think, than rather than just getting a text on the same day, just going, it's not going to work out. These are the reasons why it's not going to work out. And then you can move on with your life, rather than...
It might be brutal, but it's like ripping the band-aid off. You know where you stand.
Exactly. Whereas
if you're ghosted, you sort of think, oh, what maybe they'll respond in a week, or something might have happened, and that's a worse feeling.
100%. And you start making excuses to yourself as well, why this person didn't respond. So you'll be like, oh, maybe they're busy and stuff like that. And
or maybe it's I did this, or maybe I said that.
And you overthink about it all the time.
And it's like, oh, that was...
I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. Whereas if somebody just says to you, this is the reason why it's not going to work out, it just makes it so much easier, I would say. Or that's the way that I would always prefer to be communicated to, if that was the case.
What age were you in this? Because my point would be that I think age plays a massive point in if you ghost or not.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think we've all got something to say about ghosting in a moment, but I'll answer your question first about how old it was. 27, 28. a more mature
Yeah.
end
And
of
she
the
was
dating
she
age.
was the same age, similar age.
Yeah, she's 25, 26,
Yeah.
so we're both that sort of mid to late
Yeah, so
20s
it's
bracket.
almost like you've grown up past that point.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have done that sort of like.
yeah.
exactly,
The rise of online dating apps and websites has changed the dating landscape. Men experience frustration with the superficial nature of online dating, including ghosting, rejection, and the feeling of being judged solely on their photos and profile. Do we feel that is how even us as men see women as well, as we won't read about them or we won't want to engage with them. We are literally looking at them with our eyes. And do you think that's how women perceive us as well? They'll judge us first before actually getting to know someone. So when I started dating, many, many years ago, these didn't actually exist. So I met a girl in a pub. Funny story, I didn't even like her at the time. And she...
This is the girl that you're still with?
No. Say that with confidence next time.
No, we met in a pub. I was trying to set her up with a friend because it was an 18th birthday party. The next day I got very, very drunk, and the next day I was, I think, about 80 foot in the air on a boom lift, and I got a text message saying, "Hi, it's X. Do you want to meet up?" And then I met up, and then I spent the next 5 years with her. But dating apps didn't exist back then.
No.
So
She had to get to know me by talking to me.
But then what's the difference between you? If you approach someone in a bar, you approach them because you find them attractive.
Yeah.
If you approach someone on an app, you approach them because you find them attractive.
I definitely think it's different.
I get that people maybe are, and people are photogenic or people aren't photogenic, and also it's too easy to go no, not for me, yes, for me,
100%.
and maybe you miss people who you would have gotten really well with. But the difference between being in a bar or a pub, I don't think it's very minor. I would if you were to go into and you were trying to meet someone, you don't go up to everyone and try to get to know them first. You go, I find that person attractive. That's the one I'm going to talk to.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work out,
But it's
fine.
also having the confidence to go up to that person.
Yeah.
Well,
Whereas
that's the benefit of dating apps.
Yeah and no, though.
I can see yes,
Why?
but also
Yeah and no. I think it's a lot easier to be confident behind a screen rather than in front of someone. And then also in terms of meeting someone at a bar or a pub or on an app, if you meet someone in person, well, firstly on an app they can change how they look and they might not look how they do in person.
yeah.
But also it's their vibe and their aura.
Yeah.
Like they might not be as attractive, but you might meet someone in a bar and think, wow, your aura. You can't gauge an aura online. You only really
No,
gauge
you
that
can't.
when you do
And you do
face-to-face interaction.
you do end up finding that, and I have had this,
Yeah.
that you get on really, really well online, meet up, and there is just nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
all of that, you could have been talking for a month. That whole month, you meet up, and it's just like, why?
Yeah.
There's nothing there at all. And that would be the benefit about being in a bar, is straight away that we're vibing, we're getting on well, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, that's it.
I agree with everything you say, everything you said up to that point. The bit that is harder when you go up to someone, I think from a guy's point of view, is you might appreciate them so much more. As a guy, the stigma is on you to make the first move all the time.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm a fairly confident person, and I'm happy to talk to most people anywhere I go. But when you have to do it across a nightclub and you got to boogie over towards them and then scream in their ear, and you get all 8 seconds to make an first impression.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they're usually wearing heels, and I'm shouting in their ear about something they don't really want to listen to when they're out with their friends. That side of it is so much harder. I think the apps make the initial contact much easier, but then, as you said, you don't then get that feeling of what they're really like until you meet them. So when I use an app, I try to get to the let's meet up and do something stage really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So you get through that initial phase of the yes, no from the initial attraction, because I think unless we're all talking bollocks, that is where dating starts. You have to be attracted to the person, yes or no. I don't want to hear anyone tell me it's anything else. You have to find something attractive about that person, and it's usually their looks first time round, because you're seeing someone distance. I can't judge a personality from across the room.
Rob, I think you've got a really good personality. But do you think across an app, something like Hinge that you say you can give something, do you think you can get your true personality across on an app though?
Because you can't.
I don't think I would say I'm
out?
quite charismatic and got a good personality, but I don't think I can necessarily get myself across well on an app.
Not perhaps in the same level of charisma, but I think you can. You're given the opportunity to I don't know, tell them you're a bit nerdy because you both like Star Wars or something, for example, because you have those little prompts and quotes on there, or you can both agree that you like drum and bass, for example, whereas you can't get that from Tinder or even across the room.
Just on that though, in terms of getting your charisma onto an app, do you think like COVID emphasised that? Because I haven't used dating apps since pre-COVID, but during COVID, people started having to socialise and speak to people online. So I wonder if that sped up and how people, and also everything's online these days. So I do wonder if it sped up.
I think it probably drove.
And now the whole
change,
new age of dating is purely online.
I think it's when you get into it as well. So like dating apps for me was 16 dating apps. So as soon as you were 18, there was almost no need to try it in a bar because you were already talking to multiple people online. So because it happened as I was getting to that age where I was going to start meeting people, I've got no experience in meeting people in a bar or a pub at all. Like, it just never has been a thing for me. So I've gone from 16 dating apps, meet people online. That's it. There's nothing else there, and that probably has maybe affected like social skills in a way.
I was going to ask that,
but definitely with talking to women at a bar, even if it's like platonic and friendly, it's like, why?
Yeah.
You know, when you're with your boys, there's no need at all.
And that's why I think it's going to be the trend, because if you look at people 17 to 19 during COVID have come out of it not knowing how to pick up or meet anyone in a bar. They only know how to interact initially online.
But do you think that could affect their own mental health of being... So if they were in that social situation and not being able to talk to someone that they find attractive, do you think that could affect them by saying there's something wrong with me because I don't have those social cues?
I think so. It definitely... I'd imagine they have very strong anxiety, thinking, I really want to go speak to this person. But physically I can't. Just overwhelming dread of anxiety.
So me and Jack went to an all-boys school, and I definitely think as I grew up, so my girlfriend Becky went to a mixed school, and I think she's able to interact with like boys in ways I couldn't interact with women.
I agree.
But I think because she's grown up in a thing of like everyone's the same, they respect, and I think everyone is the same. But I think when I was in school, because we had in sixth form, we had like girls join our sixth form. And not that I was wanting to talk to them in any way, but I was like, I don't really want to talk to them because I don't really know how to in that way. I think the way you're built, it's all built into the way you are.
I went to Langley Park School for Boys as well, and again, we only had people in sixth form, and I was exactly the same as you. I felt maybe a little bit more uncomfortable speaking to girls because from 13 to 16 or 17, I always found it uncomfortable to speak to people if they didn't know sport or didn't know football, or I couldn't. I struggled to kind of engage and have a conversation with them.
Into the conversation.
Yeah.
The initial point of commonality.
Exactly, and it's still, and it shouldn't be this way, and I feel like I can talk to most people and pretty much everyone, but when you meet a guy for the first time, say it's like a boyfriend of one of your girlfriend's friends or something like that, and they say they don't like sport, I go back to myself when I'm about like 13 or 17 just going, I always think it's harder to kind of have an organic conversation. I think the girls that I can have organic conversation with, I probably hold it in a lot higher regard as well in terms of the way that I can speak with them and have that connection with them.
And do you find that they are often introduce you because they are somebody's existing girlfriend or sister or somebody like that, rather than just around and going out? So I always find that I can talk to everyone's girlfriends no problem because I already know sort of what they're thinking, their boundaries and their limits, and I might have even heard something about them through their boyfriend. Yeah. And that's totally different to me. Like, a girl like might have a boyfriend, but you don't have that initial in with them like you would with the partner of somebody that you know. And
you get on well with that particular friend as well, so therefore, if they're the girlfriend of that friend, then you have
there is common ground
and common ground to talk about.
I want to ask, why do you think, so I've got a sort of theory on why at the ages of sort of 12 to 16, why do you think it's harder when girls then join a sixth form for you to talk to them? Because they are just people.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
They're exactly the same as... So my theory is that when you're at that age, it becomes like, oh, are you dating? Are you talking to girls? Are you shagging? Are you doing this or that? So if you aren't, you put them on this pedestal, and they become it's the hardest thing to reach. So as soon as they come, you go, oh, I need to be the best version of me. I need to impress them straight away.
Yeah, is that society though?
Definitely so.
Putting it on you as that young though.
I think it's also boys, they butt heads and they start, you've got to one up each other. You end up lying about what you've done or how many girls you talk to.
But I think that's one of the main reasons why you have boys' schools is because boys butt heads, and then if there's a girl that there's got to impress, and like you said, you've got to be the best person you can possibly be, and then you've got another person who's trying to be the best person they can be. There's going to be an argument because you both fancy the same girl. So that's the reason why you focus more on having boys' schools because then it helps with the kind of academic achievements and focusing on sport and stuff like that.
Yeah, Steve is right, because I guess the psychology and the sociology behind it is the argument to have an all-boys school is they don't have to go through that stress at a younger age. But then the counter to that is then they have all of that pressure and stress when they either reach 16 or 18.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there are so many arguments against it. And as a teacher, I've always taught in mixed schools. Actually, I've only exclusively taught in mixed schools. And I see the interaction between boys and girls all the time. And I think when I was a kid, what they're learning now is really important for having those different interactions.
Yeah,
it does throw problems up. Don't get me wrong. There are disgusting comments made by young boys to young girls in schools. And there are some very poor behaviours that happen around mixing of genders. But that's very much in the minority. And I think the growth that students get when they go to a mixed co-ed school far outweighs the potential positives of being in a single-sex boys' school. The opposite argument to that, however, though, is girls who are in all-girls schools do thrive and succeed. They just are much higher achieving.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't have an all-girls school without having an all-boys school. So there are lots of arguments to always have around this. But I'm also just going to jump back to, because Ches, initially your question was about anxiety, and you pitched it at sort of the modern culture now of 19 to 21.
Sorry, we went way off topic.
Yeah,
I think it's on topic.
And it's all to do with dating.
But then anxiety of dating,
right? This is what I'm going
huge.
to come to, right?
Is huge.
But from my experience around the apps, and I don't think I realised this until we sit here now, and this is why I love doing this podcast, is that I probably haven't given any weight to this. And then you asked the question, I was like, I guess it does apply to me. I seem to find that my sort of hinge hit rate, if you like, is really cyclical, not through my control. So sometimes I'll have 8 or 9 or 10 hinge matches and conversations all going on at once, and then the next month I won't have a match for the whole month.
Yeah.
And I've not changed anything to do with my profile in that time. I've not responded to it any differently. It's obviously the way the hinge algorithm is finding different people that might match up with you, and you have that really, really high peak of having a few people to talk to, and you're sort of engaged with your phone, you're busy talking to people, and you're organising dates, and then it drops off massively, and you don't have anyone to talk to, and you're like, what's wrong with me? Why don't girls find me attractive? And that sort of roller coaster cycle of having matches, not having matches.
So I was just going to say, kind of on that point, you were talking about kind of an algorithm and stuff like that, and that's why maybe I'm a little bit more cynical towards dating apps, is because ultimately they're a business at the end of the day, and ultimately Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, they're only going to get you to engage in their product if you don't find love, if you don't find somebody that you want to be with and come off the app. Mm-hmm. So, and then like you were saying about the algorithm as well, like some months you'll get loads of matches, some months you won't get any matches, and you're thinking, what's wrong with me? Again, call me cynical, but it makes me think that perhaps that's done because it'll be encouraging you to pay extra, be paying premium for
to boost your profile.
So just a question, we've all been on dating apps. I'm just speaking.
Well,
I've never been on dating
Yeah,
apps, no.
Steve, my question is, when you've been on the dating apps, have you gone on there thinking you're genuinely, and if you have, I'm just open. Have you on there thinking you're going to find like your forever person or that person?
The reason I joined dating apps was because I'd come out of a long-term relationship and I needed a confidence boost.
Yeah, of course.
And that was huge for me.
And you see those like things are match. It's like, oh no,
yeah. Well, you build up a load of matches, and it's going to sound bad, but even at the time, you swiped everyone. You
did, yeah.
And even it's people you wouldn't actually approach, but you're like, they like me. That's confidence boost.
Yeah.
But I do think that dating apps are great because that's how I met my current partner.
Yeah.
And there are success stories like that. And I don't know if it's because of an age thing, where you're younger and more people are on it. There's a larger pool of people to choose from. Whereas the older you get, and then you're on a dating app, the pool is so small.
Yeah.
So you can go from having one match a month to no matches for 3 months, and there's nothing really there. So I don't know if it's a limited pool of people and a limited sort of time you can use these dating apps. After a while, there is no point. So Steve, your point about like, I haven't used them, is there any point? I don't know if there's a certain age cut-off point that maybe there isn't a point.
Is that a generational thing? So
well, that's what I'm sort of getting at. Yeah, it's like
so the 18 to 24-year-olds now, when they hit 50, are they still all going to be able to use those? Whereas
do they jump back on it when they're single?
Our age will be like, oh, fuck it, you know what? I don't really want to do that stuff anymore.
When you're on an app, on a dating app, you have to get to know them before you go on your first date. So you have to know to respect.
I think it
the person you're
depends
talking
app
to
you're
more.
using, and I think it depends your approach on the app. So my approach has and always will be, I enjoy going on that first date. I could go on 300 first dates in a year, and I'd have a great time every one of them.
Never see them again.
Even if I never saw that person again, even if that person rejected me there and then on the spot, even if it cost me loads of money, I would still enjoy that time because it's like going out and doing something new and going to something fun and it's like an activity. I often say to people, well, what would I be doing if I wasn't on this date with you now? I'd probably just sat at home playing Xbox. And that's great. I enjoy doing that as well. But it's nice to get out in the world and go on I went on a date with a girl a few months ago and we did a mixology class. I've never done mixology in my life, but it was
Cocktails,
an opportunity
right?
to go, exactly, making cocktails, right?
What's the best cocktail you make?
Well, we only make one each. It was like £8 or whatever.
Which one did you make?
So it was an Easter
They
special.
are.
Yeah, it was an Easter special. I can't remember the name of it, but it was delicious, right?
Yeah.
And we went on a date. We met up for the first time. Went up to London, went to this bar, and then we paid £8 or £9 for it as a person. And we both go behind the bar, and you're making a cocktail, and then you end up spending your time and having a few more drinks, right? I've never done that before. I would never do that.
And you wouldn't do it with the boys?
And I probably wouldn't do it with the boys, right?
Yeah.
But it was an opportunity.
Well, I mean, you're banging on the mic.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. Well, just invite us.
Yeah. I mean, fuck you, let's all do mixology classes, right?
Next pod.
Next pod we'll all make a cocktail, right? So that kind of thing. And it might be a case you might go out and do like a pottery class or whatever it might be,
Oh, they're
right?
good, actually.
Right? And again, I would
I
never
wanna
be
do
like,
that.
I would
They're
never
really
say
fun.
to
They
little
are really
boys-
fun.
This isn't
Yeah.
Ghost,
Can't be
you
out
know?
of that one.
I'd never say to little boys.
You've never seen
to do
Ghost?
that.
What's Ghost?
You know,
the movie Ghost.
Yeah.
Ghost, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Not Casper, no.
No, not
not
Ghost.
Casper the Friendly Ghost is very much a different movie to
God,
Ghost. That's a great
Ghost,
movie.
where the pottery scene.
No.
Nah.
What's that?
Yeah.
But when
It's
does
an
Ghost
age thing.
release?
It's an age thing. It's an age thing.
I think, to be honest, I think Ghost probably would have come out before any of you were
Yeah,
born.
probably.
Yeah, there we are,
80s.
then.
Yeah.
1989, I think.
Yeah,
It's the year I was born.
That was before I was born.
Yeah.
So to clarify, just the young people, but actually
No,
everyone in the room
everyone.
had not been born yet when Ghost came out.
Yeah, yeah.
Just go back to
I remember, yeah.
Rory's original question was, why are you on the app for the first place? Or are you trying to look for love? So I was on the app from like 17 to 19, so I don't know, first year of sixth form until like just after. And Rory, I don't know if you felt the same. Mine was more a weird societal pressure. All my mates were on the apps. I wasn't really looking for anyone or anything. It almost saw it as like another form of social media.
Yeah.
All my friends are getting Twitter and Instagram and
Like
Tinder.
a game almost?
Almost, yeah.
yeah.
It's just like something to do at lunch. Like, let's just have a
How many
swipe and see
matches
what's
have I
going
got
on.
that you haven't? Yeah, yeah.
But there was no... I wasn't looking for love. I wasn't really looking for a relationship. It was a weird societal pressure might sound strong. But all my friends
No,
are doing it.
No, that's fair. That's a fair
Yeah.
assessment. That's the way that you felt.
Like, I genuinely did not enjoy the apps. We just do it because you think, oh, everyone's doing it. I don't want to be the one missing out and seeing what's
The
going on.
weirdest thing is if you'd got a match in the school that you're in,
Yeah.
and you're like,
From your
we have a
teacher.
class. Well, that's a dream.
Old Wilsonians Pilsner, the beer that's so refreshing it will make you want to water your plants. Just kidding. Well, not really. But seriously, this Pilsner is the perfect way to quench your thirst on a hot day on the football pitch. It's also great value for money. For just £30 you can get 7 pints of this delicious brew. And the best part is, it's served in a watering can. That's right, a watering can. The watering can is a symbol of the Old Wilsonians Sports Ground, where Old Wilsonians Pilsner is exclusively available. It's a place where people come to relax and enjoy themselves, and the watering can is a reminder that life is meant to be fun. So if you're looking for a delicious, affordable Pilsner that's served in a unique and memorable way, then Old Wilsonians Pilsner is the beer for you. Just head on down to the Old Wilsonians Sports Ground and get your hands on a watering can full of this refreshing brew. But be careful not to water your plants with it. Cheers.
Just talking about sort of dating apps, and we're a group of guys. Our experience is probably very different to the experience that women have from it. Probably in a positive light and a negative light in some ways. The negative maybe being that men are still expected to make the first move. You have to approach the female on the date, and that's Bumble is literally is about
So is
kill
that-
that off.
Is that toxic masculinity, as in like society imposing gender roles?
I don't have anything to do with toxic masculinity. I think it's just.
I think
No, but I
don't think it's toxic.
I think it's nice to
It's
be
just
approached, right? Like I have core memories of being approached like twice ever in my life.
Two more times than me, Stephen.
Yeah, but they're like,
Story said a minute ago.
they're really like I lean on them as like ego boosts, right?
100%.
But then like women probably, they're expected to be approached. If they make the approach, I don't know if that's maybe like that's taboo in itself. Like for women message you first? Like, how often does that happen?
So the expectation is of a man to make the first move, and
it has to be a good message. It can't just be hi. Hi is nothing.
Hi, how
it
are
has
you?
to be an interesting message that captures their attention. That's what I always remember from my time using it. Anyways, it has to be punchy.
What was your opening line?
I mean, it changed.
Was it?
No, so she had an image of a dog, Eddie, and I think my first message would have been about, and I can't actually remember, and we do talk about this, we wish we had our messages.
Yeah.
And it was about, I think I would have dropped something about Eddie and the fact that I've got a dog. That would have been my way in. I always try to make it personal from a picture, even if they had no...
personal. Yeah.
I mean, we'd have bios, and she'd always, if she was here, she'd make up that... Well, it'd be true, but my bio had...
She'd make up. No, total fact. Yeah.
So I'd have that. I at the time, I was learning to snowboard, and so I put snowboarder, footballer, guitar player. And
Three lines.
well, snowboarder was at the time I was doing it, and then haven't done it since. Footballer, I play amateur level, and guitar, I dabble. Used to play a lot more. So all of those are pretty much was trying to boost the way I looked, and they were never that.
Did you go the extra step but sponsored by Sondico or as well?
Slazenger,
Yeah, Slazenger,
yeah. But then I do think that we have this expectation to approach women, but then women maybe have an expectation to, maybe they feel they have to respond, or maybe they, because it shouldn't be that.
Yeah. There is definitely a lot of pressure on
Yeah, I was
women,
gonna
I think.
say,
Like,
yeah.
when you speak to girls about it, they get, like we said on apps, they can get 900 odd likes and stuff, and they get a lot of messages.
Yeah.
And they probably do feel a lot of pressure to reply to everyone, or feel they have to respond.
Yeah.
And they probably get a few,
dodgy ones.
Dodgy
a few
messages.
creepy ones.
Unsolicited.
I think it's way more than a few.
Unsolicited photos, a lot
Yeah.
of creepy messages. And I would honestly say out of the 900, probably half are weird, creepy messages. That's a lot to put on a...
And I probably sent 300 of those.
Do you think it can affect a man's mental health to conform to the norms of society, that not conform to the norms and express vulnerability
In dating or in general?
in the whole dating? So being vulnerable, being able to accept that a woman might approach you first on a dating
It's very
app or
interesting.
something.
And again, I think that would be a generational thing. I think if you ask men 40 plus, they'd be like, no, of course a man should approach a woman.
Yeah.
And I think when you go down the generations, it becomes
what's-
a lot more...
what's your opinion?
why?
What's your
why
opinion?
shouldn't it? I think it should be 50-50. I think
I
if
agree,
anyone likes another person, they should go up.
Yeah.
Well, I just said at the beginning, whether that's male to female, female to male, male to male, female to female.
But then we know it's not 50-50, because around this room now,
Yeah, of course it's not.
how many of you have been approached by a woman in a bar or a pub or anything like that?
Do you think that you would be equally attracted to a female if she approached you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Maybe more attractive.
attractive.
Because I think she's
Confidence,
ballsy.
yeah.
Like, she's got some stones.
And also,
she's
it makes
got
you
to
know
do.
that she likes you straight away.
Yeah.
Off the bat, you're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
she's definitely into me.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing.
Yeah, that's also very interesting though. So last week when we was at the quiz, we were talking about a kind of similar topic, and apparently, I'm not sure how accurate this is, but there's girls talk about this kind of thing in terms of the man side or the male side, and their view is once a man sees a girl who could half be his girlfriend, that's it. They jump in it, and we just feel like the first thing we come across. What girls said at the time, we try and find the right partner.
Yeah, okay.
We see one and go, yeah, bang.
So we settle.
Yeah, just instantly.
Is that because we spend so much time getting node?
Well, potentially. That's why I thought it was
Like,
quite
if
interesting.
you
You
go
don't
with
wanna
50
get-
nodes,
mean
by the
us,
time you get a
yeah.
yes, you're gonna.
And
you're
that's
gonna
what
jump
Stevie's
it, aren't
saying. Stevie asked if a girl comes up to you, do you attract her more? We're like, yeah, almost immediately.
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
So I think it relates to that. Like
Yeah,
straight away, like, yeah,
self-esteem,
sure.
isn't it?
It's all self-esteem.
And I don't think it's an age thing. I think it's in terms of, I guess, your particular circumstances. So, for example, if you've got battle scars and if you've got, maybe you're used to more rejection and stuff like that, and being, whereas, for example, with me, I'd been in a relationship for 10 years as well. So I don't think I'd be able to deal with rejection anywhere near as well as somebody who was single for a
Why are you
while.
staring at me?
Someone
Steve?
like Rob.
Why-
I just look at you. I'm just saying it.
Why are you
I'm just
looking
saying
at me?
That's a good thing. No, what I'm saying, what I'm saying is, Rob, is I think that's a good thing in terms of like the fact that you know how to kind of handle that, and I don't think that I would be as emotionally stable to handle that, because I would be probably a lot more fearful of going up to a girl in a bar than perhaps you would be, and it's not because of my age group, and it's not because of my.
It's your lack of experience in that scenario.
It's that particular individual's person's life experience and the amount of kind of times that's happened to them, or battle scars they've had from previous relationships, something like that. And this, I don't think it's necessarily be defined by demographic.
I think
or
you
anything like
raise,
that.
I think you raise a good point, Steve, right? And I think that's definitely going to be a thing for lots of people, is if you have been in a long-term relationship, you don't have those tools or those skills to be able to deal with that situation.
Yeah.
So it's about ghosting and whether people do or don't, and whether it's right or wrong. And I think we touched on it earlier with obviously saying how the date I had in Australia didn't ghost me, and that was a very positive thing. I have actually been on the ghosting end one time, actually in person, and it's the only time I've ever been fully stood up on a date.
What, in person?
Yeah, fully stood up on a date in person. Yeah, like actually making the effort to go there.
How do you ghost a person?
We'll find out. We'll find out.
Find out
next week.
So
It's the Rob Show.
For £4.99, you can subscribe and find out the answer to this question on our extra content. No, so what happened was we matched on Hinge, and we were having some good conversations, sort of back and forth. She seemed really keen, which is not always the case on Hinge dates. Quite often, or Hinge conversations, quite often, again, part of that male stereotype, I guess, is driving the conversation. But she was actually very much one of the driving figures. I asked if she was free to go on a date on the weekend. She actually said, "Oh, I'm free on Thursday. Do you want to go on a date on Thursday?" I thought, "Oh, yeah, fair enough. That's, you're keen." She then told me she was free at 7 o'clock. I was like, "Great." And then she was like, "I'm happy to be free at all kinds of Beckenham." We agreed on a date. She set the time. She asked me to pick a place. I gave her a couple of options. She picked the place, a specific bar in Beckenham. And yeah, so we'd agreed the time, we agreed the place, we'd agreed the day. Everything was good to go. Been at work. I'd come home, got dressed, walked down the high street, and if you're not dating, you're not dating, but you always have that little bit of apprehension just before you leave. Are they definitely going to turn up? Not the bad place I meet the person, but that question is, are they definitely going to be there? So you might send one more message, say, "Oh, I've just left mine, I'll see you in 20 minutes," or whatever, just to check they are. And if they say, "Yeah, I've left mine too," you feel you've got $1 million, so much better. That message didn't come through, so it's definitely mine. I thought, okay, that's fine, might be busy. I'll wander down anyway. And then I'm sat there, and it's sort of approaching the date time, and she hasn't replied to the message, and she hasn't said anything, and she
read the message.
Well, you don't know on Hinge, so you can't see if I read it.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was like WhatsApp.
No, on Hinge. And
amateur.
Very amateur of me. And then we sat there time and on. Now it was getting quite depressing, sitting on my own drinking gin and tonics for about 40 minutes.
Should have had Old Wills Pilsner.
Should have done. Would have made the evening much nicer. Thankfully, what made it slightly more bearable was my friend was coming down to visit me from Wales.
Greatest country in the world.
Yeah. My friend Gare, and he actually was aware that I was supposed to be going on a date. He was coming down to stay with us for the weekend. He was coming down and he said, "Oh, how's the date going?" I was open with him and said, "Look, I think I've been stood up here. It's a bit of a shit feeling." And he said, "Okay, don't worry, I'm not too far away. I'll come and join you for a drink." So, didn't have a date with her. Did have a date with him. Yeah, go on the boys.
That sounded more like a stand-up. Like you stood up.
Is standing up not the in-person version?
Not
of
really.
No.
I would say ghosting would normally be when somebody ignores a text when you're trying to chase
hear from her again?
No.
Okay.
Nothing. No message. No. It wasn't an unmatch. It wasn't a reply to the text message. It was nothing.
Ghosting is when you don't respond to someone on a message, and I'm very guilty of that at my early stages of being on dating apps. It'd either be I'd get bored and I'd just ignore them or block them, or it'd be I'd get a better option that I'd be talking to and then ignore the other one. And then that happened for a while until it came to a head when I'd go on a date and then block them afterwards because I didn't want to talk to them.
Stephen.
That's quite brutal.
Bad, yeah,
I was totally on board until I lost it.
Didn't have the balls to tell them in person.
Yeah, and I knew that was bad. And I think I spoke to someone, I can't remember exactly who it was, and I realised that is a lot of my first dates were good first dates.
When you took it to the Ritz,
where's the most ritziest place you've taken somebody on a first date?
Up the Shard.
Whoa.
That's not a euphemism. That's a euphemism.
To be fair, no, we got to scale that back. It was a pub in Covent Garden.
It's still nice though.
And it was fine. It was
£8 a pint. It's not cheap.
Well, now it's £8 a pint. At the time, it wasn't £8 a pint.
You heard that? I was going back.
That's why I went there.
I remember.
Back in my day.
I remember being 19, downloaded Tinder just because Spoons were doing like a Valentine's deal, like 2 mates to do like tenner, and I went on Tinder, spammed it like no tomorrow, just to take someone to
lads,
absolute
lads.
And then it worked as well. And then I never saw it again, but we both went there and was like, we know exactly what we're
That's how
in.
you met That's how you know.
All day breakfast, Wetherspoons.
It was lovely. It was like I got steak and chips and a beer for like £5.
3 A1 afterwards.
Yeah.
I would always feel like I'd have to plan the date.
Thing
I didn't plan the date. Like you say, if I didn't ask for a number,
Yeah.
it
I
never
don't
got
really
there.
know.
So
I think I'd have to control a date. Well, I think that's because I'm not
Because
control.
you
Not
want-
control, but I like to know.
Yeah.
I like to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So like, whenever like my partner now doesn't plan like Becky,
It's
and she's
true,
like,
isn't
"Oh, we're doing this," and I'm like, "All right." And I'm like, and it's a day before. I'm like, "Yeah, well, what time? I need to know." Like,
Yeah, no, and
what
that's
time? And
definitely
she's
a
like,
thing,
"Oh, like, I don't know." I said, "No." So that's now why I do it, because I'm like, I need to know where, what time, what train I'm getting. I was excited. I've got plans on Saturday. I'm on Monday going, right, what train do I get? If I don't make that train, I need to get the train before.
Yeah.
So that's why I enjoy it as well, because I want to do what I want to do.
That's the question about the dates, and I'd like to sort of hear everyone's answers. So we'll go around a bit of a circle, bit of show and tell time.
Circle
Ooh,
What if a girl was to ask you on a date and she was going to make the date, like she was going to plan it? What would you want to go on? Like, what would you like? You could all say, "Oh, let's go for a drink," and that's fine. But the girls always want not always. Some girls want something a bit different. They don't want just a cocktail or drink because then they think you're just trying to sleep with them, right? They want something a bit different.
Talking about Quasar. Take a Quasar.
But that's the same.
Quasar.
So if a girl said to you,
Right.
"I would like to do this," she'd be like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!" Like, "Oh my god, that's so hot!" Like, what would like really get you into that? Like, absolute yes, sort of.
Mine's basic. I love bowling.
Yeah.
Anything.
You got 3 fingers down the alleyway.
live in America.
That's quite basic too.
Go on.
I like a nice meal, and then maybe like something in a theatre.
Cringe.
I think meal for a first date
Meal's
is
good.
so difficult.
It's so awful. No, it's
You can
easy.
talk to a person, you can communicate.
I like to talk, but I don't want to talk opposite. I
With
want
your
to
food
talk
in your mouth.
with someone next to you where you can have a drink and maybe some nibbles, little dance,
and this is
and boogie or that. Nothing
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
You're not doing a
Come
full
on.
line dance.
I could
You're
two-step
a bit
the shit out of
It made me very uncomfortable with bowling, I think, because
you're
you know
shit.
everyone. Well, maybe I'm shit, yeah. But also, you have to do like if you get a strike, you have to do like a little dance. And stuff like that. You have to do that. And I feel so uncomfortable about doing
And
that.
also, if you absolutely destroy at bowling, that's not very nice.
Yeah.
Like, if you go and score 300 points, you're like, hey!
Do I like
300
high five her when
points.
she gets a spare?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
And
world
she
record
gets
over it.
4 and you're like, oh.
Looking back at the disappointment on her
Yeah.
face when you get
She's like,
free.
oh, I nearly got a strike.
for bowling, so I can't do bowling.
I think the size make it a lot of fun. Yeah, bouncing it off.
I just think like I could never do another activity date. I'm so like when I go with my current girlfriend, I'm too competitive. If she starts winning, I'm in a foul mood for the rest of the evening. I couldn't do that. We went to a pub in
What's she good
Croydon and we started playing darts and she was winning.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go.
Personally, I quite like it when
What,
I get
activity?
beaten at a sport.
By your girlfriend.
By my girlfriend, yeah. No, I just think it's really nice. Like, I think we would play, pool or something? We played.
If I lost Paul,
no,
my God, I'm losing my head.
We had a swimming race, and she wiped the floor
As a
with me.
date?
No, we're not dating. We're not really, don't really date anymore.
No, but
Navigating life.
But like
Rob's getting ideas.
Jack with darts, swimming, absolutely wiped the floor with me. And I was just so proud of her. I was just
Yeah,
like,
but
this
that's
is
different.
like,
Yeah,
Yeah, that is different.
no, but it's not.
Zach,
It's
she's
nice.
like 5'11" and built like a Michael Phelps
So
Junior.
like streamlined.
So streamlined.
No
Fucking
splashing.
bullet fly
Like,
through the
honestly,
water.
just like. And I'm there just banging and splashing. Yeah, but she's already finished 10
You're like a
minutes.
drowning great white, and she's like a fucking arrow flying through the water.
So my girlfriend's first date was Jungle Golf, and she.
Oh, yeah.
Great
But
date,
she
great
paid
date.
first date.
Oh, really?
Great
She
first
actually,
date.
and
That's embarrassing.
I left thinking, I kept saying, I didn't try. I left thinking,
Let her win.
I was like, no, she just beat me. So then now we've got this thing now. We've done the second series. I beat on the second series.
Oh, you're
So
serious?
now we've got one more to do.
Brilliant.
We need to get one more in. So
Are you
you
gonna
decide who
Are you
wins.
going to get a trophy for it?
Well, yeah.
You should have won.
You
You
should.
should have won last week at the clubhouse because they gave away the toilet.
Yeah, my flat mate got that.
Where is that?
It's in my toilet at home.
Let's delve into the impacts of breakups, and when relationships end, we experience a range of emotions, really, from sadness and grief to anger and guilt. How are we about with coping that? We've all been through breakups at some point. You've
Alright, cocky bastards.
What?
I've only had one
I've
relationship.
only
that's
had
been
one
like-
girlfriend.
Okay, then you're out. But
All right.
You listen.
Cut.
Yeah, from the pod.
How would they feel if they?
Oh, I wouldn't be able to cope with it. I don't
Yeah.
think I'd be able to
Oh, yeah.
But
Devastated.
obviously it's going to affect your mental health, and there has to be a way of dealing with it and coping with it. And some people's are to like go to the gym or go and immerse yourself in sports,
I'd
jump
get on
back.
the booze.
Yeah.
I think we just
Do you think
go
that could be a
booze.
problem though?
I
If you went onto the booze, would you know your limits?
Yeah, I know my limits, but I think I think that's quite a lot of people. I'll go to the gym anyway, but that's what I do day to day. I still play football every week.
Are you sure you go to the gym, Dave?
I still.
He was showing me his biceps earlier.
And I
Hey,
would,
it's mad.
and I
Big,
would
yeah,
still,
big
and I
boys.
would still do all the same thing I was doing in general life, but I think it would be masked by alcohol and food and stuff like that.
What about shagging?
Would that be?
No, because I don't.
You wouldn't go that way.
That is not like I don't think I'd get any.
You wouldn't have your hot girl summer.
No, I don't
So-
think I'd
so-
get anything out of that.
I agree.
that alcohol you said would be a mask, but
Yeah.
that's not really dealing with it, is it? If you're using
Well, no, but
something,
what I'm trying to say is I don't
You're
think I
suppressing it.
can deal with it. I'm suppressing it.
Well, you wouldn't do that very
It'll take me so long. I don't think I can necessarily deal with it because I don't know how to deal with it.
And this is all hypothetical because you haven't been in that
Well,
situation.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But
I
your
don't know how
hypothetical is
I'd
that you
react.
think you're going to drink.
As Jack said the same, right? So you're in the same boat as Rory.
Yeah.
I don't
100%,
necessarily think
So
like that.
you don't think you're going to cope with it well?
No, I don't think I would.
Well, hopefully it never happens, but if it did happen,
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
go very well.
I'm-
No. I would definitely suppress and just go
Do you have a
inwards.
plan for it? Like mentally try and plan?
No,
The
no.
wires-
I've already
that's a
noticed.
risky
I've already
strategy.
noticed.
No,
Like,
but not to like wish it to happen.
No,
but to
I-
mentally
I-
be ready for.
I know trends about my brain, and I'd be extremely sad and inward for like a month.
Who would you lean on in a situation like that?
My parents.
I've logistically planned for because obviously we both live like
Yeah,
I've
I'd-
logistically planned for my breakup.
I'd
So-
rely on my parents a
back
lot.
to parents,
But even then,
family's
I think
key.
I'd keep it for at least 2 months, maybe a month, 2 months. I'd keep it very inward.
Initially, I'd go.
And
to
then
my-
I'd just be too
A
sad,
month,
and
2 months you'd keep it inward.
yeah, and then I'd break down and speak to my parents.
Initially, I'd go to my brother first, just in case. Like, say if like I broke up with my girlfriend tomorrow, I'd go to my brother first. It's like right, I trust my brother. Not that I don't trust like anyone here, but like in terms of like,
yeah, no,
I'd
family
I would
member.
like to say, brother, can I stay at yours for like a few weeks?
But then also talk it out because maybe there might be a
I'll
chance
talk
of
out,
back
and I'll still
together.
talk to everyone here, like all my mates. But like, I'd move to my brother and be like, right, I don't really want to tell my mum and dad yet, because then if you tell your mum and dad, I feel like if you tell your mum and dad,
Is that
That's
it's
real.
fine,
That's
it's
real.
fine.
Yeah,
that's
fine.
real. And it's like,
Chapters
well,
over,
what?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like if I go there, I'll be like, right, listen, I've got 2-3 weeks here, and if this is set in stone, then I'll move
Yeah.
back to the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I'll deal with it.
No,
I
I
don't think
agree.
that's how I'll deal with it initially, and then long term, I don't think I'd deal with it well. I think me and Jack are quite different in the sense of I think he would internalise it. I think I'll be quite like
You'd be a bit more talkative.
I think I'll be a bit more outwardly emotional.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
probably
See,
more
Yeah,
like
it's
Jack.
interesting because it's interesting because I'm a big talker. Like whenever I've told you a lot when I haven't been feeling great. I'm a big talker, but I think I tell people I'm not feeling great, but I'll never go into details of what's going on. I don't think I'd tell anyone for a good month or two that we've broken up.
Well, I
I'd
think
really keep
when I broke up as well, like as I mentioned, I was in a relationship for 10 years and recently broke up because of circumstances and stuff. And I don't think I told any of you guys for probably
No.
quite a while, internalised. And I think I'm very similar to you in that sense. I think one big thing for me was I didn't want anyone to pity me. I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me or anything like that. And it was the right decision. I think it was the right decision for both of us as well. We're just going, we wanted different things from kind of life. She's the most wonderful person. And it was obviously really, really difficult. But I don't think I'm particularly good with my emotions and handling my emotions like I do. It takes a lot for me to get quite emotional about things. And I internalise it a lot. And it's probably not the healthiest way to deal with a particular situation, but it's just the way that I'm built as well. And it's the way that I've grown up. Where I don't really like talking about myself. Like you guys were asking me about Canada and stuff like that, and I'm still.
We can get more out of you for that.
You can get more
if
out of me.
we press you for it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't want to be forthcoming. 'cause
Exactly.
you don't
Like
make
I'm
it
more
all
than
about
happy
you.
to talk about it
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and more than happy to kind of talk about how it went. But I feel like
Need to be asked.
people need to ask me questions about it, and if people
Whereas I'm
aren't
quite happy just to tell.
to vent, and stuff like that, and tell people about it.
Do you
and
feel like
stuff.
you're boring people?
I don't feel like I'm boring people.
I think it's more a fact
My
of
thing is that I
burdening
feel
with
like
problems.
I'm boring people. If someone says like, "Oh, well, how are you getting on? Like, how you feeling?"
Yeah.
Fine, because I don't actually want to. I don't want to bore them.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be like, "Oh, I didn't actually ask. I don't really."
Yeah,
care."
yeah.
Kind of, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
sort of like you just
Out of politeness,
wanted
they've
some-
asked.
yeah,
Yeah.
you just sort of you push.
That's
them.
a very Britishness thing.
Very.
as well.
I think it's
also. Do you have that feeling with everyone, or just do you have some people you don't have that feeling?
It is with everyone, and then I think if it like you said, if it's pushed,
Yeah.
and then I will open up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then the flood works happen.
And I think it's got to do with the forum as well, right? So like when Stephen turns to football on a Saturday and we're kicking off in an hour, I'm going, oh, how are you? You're not going to sit there and go,
Yeah.
oh,
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all circumstantial.
It's all about knowing.
But then when we go for our lunchtime walks,
And
they're very open, and I really look forward to them. We we say how we're feeling about work and just general.
That's the same reason why I look forward to this, because I think this podcast is giving us the opportunity to have those conversations now.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's start talking about it, yeah.
Exactly, it gives us all the forum to talk about. I think it's really, really nice.
It's strange, isn't it? Because I think when you think about kind of people looking out the outside about football teams and clubs and stuff like that, you do have an air of like, oh, it's
Boys club
as well. We're never going to talk about
lads,
feelings or anything like that. And I think with particularly last year, and then just playing with you guys every week as well, like playing five-a-side with you, it's made it so much easier to talk about my feelings. And people like Rob said, everyone here, and like Jack said, everyone here I'd feel very, very comfortable talking about as well. And I think the only reason that's come about is from seeing you guys every week and kind of chatting with you every week. And it's not like we just chat about birds that we're seeing or stuff like that, or like the kind of stereotypical things that you'd see about football teams or you'd associate with kind of clubs and football teams and stuff. Like I think such a rewarding environment and such a nice way to meet other guys as well who you can feel comfortable around, and like you said about the way that you can kind of associate with different people and decide who are your friends and decide who actually do genuinely care about you, and those who are just literally just using you to kind of go for a few drinks or whatever, just when they're lonely.
But when you get older, like I'm a lot older than you guys, I'm 34.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But I noticed that when I was in my early 20s, my social circle was huge.
Yeah.
But as I've gotten older, it's become smaller and smaller and smaller to the point of it's manageable, and I feel that the circle that I have now, I could trust more than anybody else in the last 10, 15 years that I've been friends with for a lot longer, that I've been hanging out with. And then you realise when you stop doing stuff. So I had friends that I would go out with all the time, and I had really close mates. But when I took alcohol away, so I wasn't going drinking anymore.
Yeah.
There was no text to say, "Oh, how are you?" or "Do you fancy coming to do something?" It was always because alcohol was involved.
It's really interesting.
And then you start, and when you take a step
first.
yeah, and when you take a step back, you realise, oh, were they actually my friends, or were they just there because
I was in the pub?
Yeah, I was.
You have a good time with them. But when you get older, you need more than just being able to have a good time with someone. You need,
conversation.
You need connection. You want to have people around just to watch football at your place. Have a quiet. It doesn't have to be alcohol involved. Just have a watch, chat.
We're going to talk about Old Wilsonians and how we got on this weekend, and
Pumped it up.
Well, there's actually two teams we can talk about.
There is two teams.
Because we've got the old.
Should we start with the fives this week?
Yeah, let's start with the fives this week. 100%.
Honorary fives.
Go on then, Jack.
And also give us a debrief on the season.
Yeah.
Yes. So, season-wise, we played 6, won 4, lost 2. Not too bad.
Very good start.
Up the fives.
Up the fives.
One of 2 teams on form this season, but we won't mention the other teams. So we was away at Civil. We spent 6% of the teams being like, boys, just remember the lines are orange. Ignore every other line.
It was just so tactical.
However, I would like to mention Darky spoke about Darky as well. I know I'm captain, but Darky as skipper spoke a lot about the orange lines being boys orange. Within the first 30 seconds, ran off towards the white line almost immediately. We won 5-3.
Great win.
Was there some player got a hat trick? Was there?
Nathan Spencer. He's entire.
Honestly,
it was so good to have him back. He missed that last year due to mental health and stuff.
Yeah.
He's come back, barring team of the week.
Yeah.
2 hat-tricks this season. 2 hat-tricks in 3 games.
He's not Harky.
Must be top scorer of the whole
Haaland.
Whereabouts in the league are you now?
We're 4th.
How
But we
many
played
points
2
net?
games. We played 2 games less than the teams above.
Okay, so
Way on for the league then. Well up for the league.
Carshortner 5 games, 5 wins.
Yeah,
as expected. It's team of
Carshorner.
Is it the same Carl Shropton? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They beat us in the final, yeah.
Who beat us? Yeah, so insane they're in our league. But it's very good. I've got good feedback this season. Promotions on the cards.
Stephen Pearce is standing captain for this weekend.
Oh, well done, Stephen.
Massive honour.
Last
It was
weekend's
a
game.
cracker.
Actonians.
Actonians.
Warned pre-game very physical side.
Can we run through the formation first?
So I think we ended up playing was it a 5-2? Post game, speaking to a couple of their players, they said they were very, very lucky to be 1-0 down rather than 7 or 8. And I think that's bang on the money. We had ample... the first half is... And we've said it in our post-match sort of debrief. That was probably the best we've played all season. First half, I will add, because second half is not that. We were not at that level.
No.
The Will Terrell link-up, which personally I was playing the furthest back at the 3. That link-up between them two, if that keeps going this season, is phenomenal.
It's emotional, isn't
it? Honestly, the balls, and you got Rory down
And
the left,
Ricky
bombing
in
over,
there as well.
and then Ricky on the right, who
I
actually...
really need to watch it.
Ricky had a fantastic game at right wing back. I think that helped. Kieran, the first half was phenomenal. Like as a right centre back,
stepping out,
right back, because it gave Ricky the freedom to push forward. And so that attacking, we should have been more. You had Rob and Harry patrolling in the midfield. Honestly, first half was so good, and it's just a shame we didn't score more. The second half, I think 10 minutes in, 2-0 up, and we were like, right, this is it. We're going to play now.
Yeah.
And then what they did was they figured out we were playing a back 3. We dominated them the entire game. Yeah. We were more physical, even though they're a physical side, and we played very good football. Our problem is we need to put the ball in the back of the net more.
While you have a drink in hand, if we're gonna finish off. Last week we finished off by saying cheers in Japanese.
Actually, pre that, is there not an Old Wills drink we are missing out in the pipeline that we maybe need to promote, because we have been told it's going to be special?
Yeah.
So I've heard rumours.
Yeah.
The thing is, we've all heard rumours,
Yeah.
and I think Chesley's got the down low on it.
So I can confirm that I have had confirmation from Jasper. It's an exclusive here on the pod.
Okay.
Oh, lovely
That-
exclusive.
There is an Old Wilsonians IPA.
I'm not having it. Don't believe you. Don't believe you.
Lie.
That's too good. That's too
And
good
wait,
news.
how much is that going to cost?
That is going to be £30 for 7 pints.
What?
Oh,
No, not having it. That's
Not having it.
outrageous.
And
Great value.
And on that, if we can all just raise a glass. Last week we finished with cheers in Japanese. Yeah. This week, in honour of the trips to Canada and France and Switzerland and Germany, we're going to say cheers in German and cheers in French. Cheers in French is salut. Cheers in German is Prost. So we'll start with salut.
Salut!
And we'll do the Germans too. Prost!
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Not So Old Boys podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And also, don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and content. You can find us on Instagram at Not So Old Boys. And finally, if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, please send us a message. We love hearing from you.